This is a debate between two Orthodox Christians versus one agnostic. My name is Isaiah. I want to thank Brother Orthodox for help setting up this debate, but we're gonna go jump straight into it. First thing first, we're gonna let the Orthodox uh, introduce themselves. Then we're gonna let the agnostic introduce himself. Then from there, we're gonna do open arguments. We're gonna start with Brother Baldwin. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Baldwin. I'm I'm not a native English speaker, so forgive me if I get some expressions wrong or if I have to look for my words. Um, I've been investigating Orthodoxy for about a year now. I'm an Orthodox catechumen. Um, I was Protestant for about a year and a half, and before that I've been agnostic all my life, and so I mean, yeah, I'm welcome to everyone. Hope uh, I hope the truth prevails.
Thank you very much, Brother Lex. Please introduce yourself.
Yo, hello. I'm Lix. I'm from Greece, so English is not my first language, so my accent really, really strong. You're gonna notice this with my speech. I am Eastern Orthodox. I was born and raised Eastern Orthodox, but I was an apostate. I was atheist for around 2 years of my life. Then I started researching again and reverted back to the one Holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. And as Baldwin said, I hope truth prevails, and I hope truth is what's found with this conversation, and I hope it's a conversation that's been held in good faith and produces good fruit.
Thank you very much. Brother Gio, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yes, hello everyone. I am Gio. I've been an agnostic since about 15, 16 years old. I primarily was raised Christianity when I was younger, and I deconstructed, and I've been agnostic ever since then. Where I'm from Texas, particularly in America, and I'm debating two Christians on the topics that were listed.
Perfect. Thank you, Gio. The premise is on the right side of the screen. If you're watching on YouTube, the questionnaires is all on the right side of the screen. We're gonna go ahead and jump into opening arguments. Since it's two against one, we're gonna let Gio go first. But after we're gonna alternate. So the Orthodox will go next. Then the agnostic will go. We're gonna go back and forth for each question. So Gio get to start his questionnaire first on the first question, origin of Christianity and who was it for. But first thing first, we're gonna do opening arguments, and we're gonna let Gio start his opening argument. Then we're gonna let Brother Baldwin and Brother Lex do their open arguments. Then we're gonna go into the questions. So Gio, you can start your open arguments.
Yes. So the origin of Christianity and who was it for? So Christianity started as a Jesus of Nazareth movement, people who believed Jesus was the Son of God or came from God. And historically, Jesus didn't write about really anything that he prophesied. We mostly relied on people who followed him. And over the years, it grew into, I believe, 4 or 5 thousand before his death. And then after his death, we have a guy named Paul who writes about this Jesus after he has a encounter with him, which he have never met him before, at least physically, but spiritually he believes that he met him. And I feel as though not only with my feelings, but also historically, that's not a reliable source of a testimony of a word of mouth thousands of years ago. And he writes on a person that he has never interacted with or even shared a ministry with. And who is Christianity for? So originally going back to Matthew, Jesus instructs his disciples to not even go to the Gentiles to heal diseases or sickness, for he has only came for the lost sheep of Israel. And he felt as though helping the Gentiles, later when you read down into Matthew, I believe 15 and 24, of taking food from his children and giving it to dogs, it's not good. It feels as though it's like a waste. So obviously he prioritizes or focuses on just the children of Israel. And I don't know the verse, I will admit this, but Jesus also came down and said that he came for who repents and believes he is their savior, and to enter into the King of heaven. I'm sorry for my speech. It's like 5 a.m. I'm so sorry. I'm losing my voice. But I want to end right there. They can tag on to that.
Thank you. Appreciation. That was Geo Agnostic opening arguments. Now we're gonna give it to the Orthodox Christian. Let's start with Brother Baldwin with the opening arguments for Orthodox Christianity.
I haven't prepared a specific opening statement, but maybe I can just try to answer in part of what Gio said. Is that
Yeah.
that correct?
If you guys want to go
Yeah.
back and forth from if you guys want to do you guys open the argument first, and then after that y'all can do questionnaires back and forth.
Okay. Well, maybe I don't know where there's so many ways to start. So Christianity is actually a very well founded religion. We find when we compare it to many other religions that it's actually very concrete. It has very concrete grounding, historically, culturally too, and even I mean it has its roots absolutely in Jewish in the Jewish culture, like pre first century Jewish culture, because after that it changed after the destruction of the temple in 70 AD. So even liturgically we find this continuity. And when Gio quoted Mark, I think it's Mark 7, about the woman asking Jesus for healing, and then Jesus calling her little dog, kinarion, I think, in Greek. It's actually not contradictory at all that to the idea that Israel would be opened to the whole world, because that's what we find in many prophecies of the Old Testament. The Abrahamic prophecy that God tells Abraham, and also quotes like I think it's Jeremiah, somewhere in Jeremiah 31. Romans 8 too. So we find many prophecies that actually it's for the whole world. And so that's why when Jesus says that the whole world would be justified on basis of believing in him, that's the idea you find, and it's consistent with both Judaism before the Christian revelation, and also the Pauline epistles and the writings that you find after that. So no, it's not. There's no break of continuity here.
Thank you very much. That
So
was Brother Baldwin's opening. That was. Did I cut you off? I didn't want to.
no, no, that's
Okay.
fine. I mean,
Okay.
I just want to say, as a general statement, um, Christianity, it is the most beautiful religion in the world because it has it can offer. It's the only religion that can actually offer philosophical grounding, theological grounding. Um, that's also that has like clear historicity without as many holes as, for example, Hinduism or Buddhism. And also it's a religion that produced lots of good fruits, and we see that in history. The bad fruits that it produced weren't actually representative of the actual belief system. Yeah.
That's Brother Baldwin's opening arguments. Now we're gonna get Brother Licks. He gets his opening argument. Then from there, there's gonna be a back and forth. Each debater get to go back and forth with each other and ask each other questions. Then from there, we're gonna go to the next question. So, Brother Licks, opening argument.
Yeah, hello. I would like to address the points that Gio made and also expand further in what my friend Baldwin said with his answers. So, where does Christianity originate from? I agree with the statement that it originates from first century from Jesus of Nazareth. I agree 100% with that. But he made some, from my paradigm, blunders, and I can elaborate on why. He named a couple of passages that's supposed to entail that Jesus only came for a specific sect of people. First of all, he named the verse that says, "I only came for the lost sheep of Israel." So the thing with this is that this does not prove that only Christ came from for specifically the people of Israel, because in Scripture, Israel refers to the people of God. Okay, that's the people of God. Is like it's basically a title of the Israelites. So we have numerous places of Jesus the epistle that we have all been made one in Christ. So if all of us have been made one people, that passage read it in context entails that Jesus came for all of us. Also, he named another passage with Jesus rebuking the Samaritan woman and calling her a dog. This is actually a nice verse that proves the exact opposite of his statement. So right there, when Jesus says, calls the woman a dog, the woman replies that even dogs eat from the crumbits of the food of the masters that falls from the table. The reason Jesus did that right there is to embrace her, if you read the whole chapter there, and to show that he's open to the rest of people. So if we read the entire chapter, you will see that first of all, Jesus calls her a dog. And then, right after that, after the statement of the Samaritan woman, Jesus starts praising her, saying that her faith is beautiful, more beautiful than the people around them, the Pharisees and the Jews. So literally the verse that he cited, if written in full context, literally proves the opposite of his statement. Also, about who is Christianity for. So it prophesied in the Old Testament, we can see in places such as Jeremiah 31 to 34. Behold, the days are coming, declares the Lord, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah, not like the covenant that I have made with their fathers. On the day when I took them out of the hand and bring them out of the land of Egypt, my covenant they broke, that I will make the household declare the Lord. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel those days, declares the Lord. I will put the law within them, and I will write it on their hearts, and I will be their God. So even in the Old Testament, other places such as Isaiah 42:6, we see, "I, the Lord, have called you in righteousness. I will take hold of your hand. I will keep you. It will make you, and I will be corner of the people in light with the Gentiles." So even in the Old Testament, we see prophecies that say that the new covenant will be for all people, and also we see that Jesus fulfilling this verbatim in the same Matthew that Gio cited. in Matthew 28:19, therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptize them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. So the gospel he brought up refutes his point. Then about the Apostle Paul, he said that because he started writing a couple of years later, he's not a valid source. Historically speaking, right, from a historical perspective, this is a really big blunder. For most historical records we have of significant people with significant ministries, we have their sightings, their manuscripts, like outdated for a really, really long time. For example, one of my favorite examples is with Alexander the Great. The manuscripts that refer to him, like we have, for example, let's say 40, and those 40 manuscripts come decades after his death, and most of them are from anonymous people. So we cannot use the standard, well, it was written like those many years after, therefore it's not valid. And even in the case of Paul, it's even better because he started writing so relatively close after the earthly ministry of Jesus. Also, he said that Paul did not meet Jesus, which is incorrect if we read in Acts 9. Paul has the encounter with Jesus, then he repents. Not only that, but then we see in the later parts of Acts that the rest of the apostles, such as Peter, accept him as a valid apostle, not less than them, but at the same level as themselves, who were taught by Christ, literally. So if the apostles of Christ themselves accepted Paul as an apostle, we cannot come 2,000 years later and say he was not. That's just that non sequitur. So that would be my main answer. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Each side has done their opening argument. Now we're going to do a tit for tat questionnaire. So this is where each side can have a back and forth conversation. Since the Orthodox Christian just finished their closing arguments, Geo, the agnostic, get to ask them a question. They answer. Then they ask him a question. They answer. Once everything is resolved, we go to the next question. Each question has to be answered. So if somebody asks you a question, because we before we started the debate, each debater had agreed to the proposition. So if somebody asks you a question, you have to answer it when you're interacting with the debater, because the proposition was agreed upon. Geo, you have a chance now to ask the Orthodox Christian a question.
Yes. So with the second person, I believe it's Lucas. I didn't really catch up with the names of who was talking. But so when you say that it's been a lot of great things coming from Christianity, I question that with all of the commanded wars in the Bible and also outside of the Bible by Christians. So I would love a response about that. And as far as the woman about the food and the little dog thing, so Jesus only helped her because of her faith, because she pleaded and pleaded. And so Jesus had pitied her. It wasn't that, oh, okay, I'm going to just help her. But if you read the text, it does say that
Can you guys hear me? 1 second. I think the audio. Hold on. 1 second, you guys. Wait, can you guys hear me? I cannot hear you guys. 1 second.
Raise Isaiah.
Raise Isaiah.
My bad, you guys. I had
look
glitched
like
out.
he left. Yeah, no, he's right here.
Oh, hello. Yeah, I was muted.
Wait,
What I was
wait,
asking, what's your
wait,
what's
one
your
second.
question exactly? Can you can we can you delineate specific questions?
Wait.
So my question is
They kicked. I gotta get back on the
that,
stage, you guys.
well, with the second person, I believe is Lucas.
Yeah,
How
it's
can you
Luke.
say they're, huh?
Logos? What are you saying? Logos?
No. He's
Uh,
referring to me. My name is Leaks.
Oh, yeah,
leaks.
Alex. Okay, yeah, sure.
Yes. How can you say that um there's a lot of great amount of Christianity when historically it's been a lot of wars, particularly in the Bible, that God commanded onto other nations and also to just non-believers, people who just simply don't believe. Um, so basically, my question is that um, what makes you overlook the bad things that have happened that was commanded by God and still say that, only focusing on the good things, basically. So I guess we could start with that first instead of
Ye-
doing two questions at once.
Yeah, sure. So all the instances you're referring to, you say wars within Christianity. So about like outside from the Bible, because it was a general statement, uh, Christianity in itself is against war, and only peace is good. So someone claiming to have the title Christian, but doing actions that are against the conduct of the faith just because they claim to be something does not make them that something, neither is it a good representation. And also the places you're referring to about the wars, that's in
Mhm.
the New Testament, that's in the Old Covenant. So yes, there are many instances, for example, that uh, wars have been commanded, like for example by God, like we see with the Amalekites, like in Exodus, Deuteronomy, etc., and all over the Pentateuch. So it's not about overlooking. So we need to look at it from like an unbiased perspective, right? So first of all, to say this is a bad thing and this is a good thing, okay, we need to have a justificator of what good and bad is at the first place. So this statement by default it tails it presupposes that the justificator exists, which in this sense would be the absoluteness of God. So us, right, as humans, as temporal beings, the only knowledge we have of good is from what is revelatorial and also from outside non-theological experiences we feel in daily life. So we cannot grasp or compare the human goodness to the goodness of God. That's a usage of apophatic language. Apophatic language is uh, a way of speaking for God by saying what God is not instead of what God is. So we cannot comprehend the goodness of God or how it compares to the human understanding of God. And also all the like the places of war in the Old Testament can be very very justifiable or justified but just by reading the context of what's happening. You can just see in the Pentateuch, right? In many places or like generally in the prophets when Israel wages wars against other nations, most of the time, percentage wise, the other nation would have done something quite heavy against Israel at the first place. If that's not the case, there will be something external that goes against Israel. And if we take it also by the scriptural understanding, right? In the Old Testament, the only people of God, yes, God does not change. God is the one that created all of the people on earth, right? But He is the God of only the people of Israel. The people of Israel are His priority, and first and foremost, because through the people of Israel came Jesus, who is for all people, and who He saved also the people that came before Him, as we see Second Peter. So it's not about overlooking the places that war happens, but it's about understanding why the war happens in the first place. And we cannot just say, oh, this is bad or this is good. Because if we do that, it presupposes that we have a justificator for what neither of these mean, which tells God. And by apophatic language, we know that my
Wait,
good is not the same good of God. So, yeah.
can I make like a complimentary statement?
Yes.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, because I think I'm gonna give like concrete examples of verses in the Bible that can make us understand the relationship between God, Israel, and the other nations. And so I guess that would be relevant when if we talk about wars and if we talk about Old Testament events. Wouldn't you agree?
Mhm.
Yeah. So I'm gonna get into this. Um, so off the top of my head, if you go to Jeremiah 18, there's the famous potter analogy, and basically God talks to Jeremiah, the prophet, and he says that just like a potter, just like a jar of clay in the hands of a potter, Israel, so the Lord's people, they are in the hands of God in the same way. And so God explains to Jeremiah that he can do as he wants with them, just like he can do as he wants with other nations. And so he says that he explains verses. I don't remember, but he explains that when a nation, when he gives prophecies, when he says such and such nations will be destroyed, it's not an immediate sentence. It's a prophecy made for them to repent. And so if those nations turned from their evil, then God doesn't destroy them. And the same goes for the other principles, right? So we see God being fair with even Gentiles that believe, and when Elijah is sent to when Naaman the Syrian is sent to Elijah to be healed, and he is not Jewish, and all the Jews there's like this big leprosy epidemic, but the only one to be healed is actually not a Jewish person. He is the Syrian person, right? And so there's this king that's mad about it, but Elijah says, I mean, it's God willed it, right? So there's this example of Naaman, and there's also another example where it's in First Kings somewhere, where Elijah is sent to a woman in Sidon, and he actually multiplies. The woman in Sidon has so much faith that she gives, many things. Her last meal, basically, to Elijah, and God multiplies her flour and her oil forever as long as she lives. Right. So there's a miracle associated with it, but we see that the Lord doesn't see Israel as like a child to like spoil, right? Um, Actually, that's underlined also in other places. You see that actually it's a responsibility to have had God reveal himself to you. That's a huge responsibility that it happens to you first, right? And so that's why when the Jews when Israel like the physical Israel fail to actually represent God well to the other nations, then that's when actually God sends his son to create a new covenant and make it so that the Gentiles would actually come into Jerusalem. That's also a fulfillment of another prophecy, coming into the spiritual Jerusalem, which is Israel as a whole. So yeah, we see that actually God is just. He uses Israel to judge other nations by waging war against those nations, because those nations are evil. For example, it's also in Jeremiah. It's like I don't have the chapter, but it's also against Jeremiah, where you see, okay, you're gonna go to this or this nation and kill them and so on. But we also see that God judges Israel with the other nations, like the exile at Babylon or in other places. So we see that
Amos,
God is actually, yeah,
yeah, also in Amos 7, for example, you see that God literally says to the prophet Amos, if you had not prayed, I would have destroyed Jerusalem.
exactly. And so we see by the criteria even of I think it's Genesis 9, is it 1920, when Abraham intercedes um in front of God for Sodom and Gomorrah. God says, okay, if there's like 10 righteous people in the whole city, I'm
Then
gonna
it's safe.
spare yeah, I'm gonna spare the whole city. So we see that intercession is important, and we see that even like prayers for people who are wicked are important in the eyes of God. But when God decides to act, right, there's a good reason. So yeah, and ultimately also your statement about wars being horrible. Sure, if you're talking about the suffering, yes. If you're talking about a life ending, I don't see how that would hold. I mean, if it's in the Christian paradigm, then life is not necessarily ending, right? Because everybody's going to be resurrected. Some for like eternal life, and others for like eternal suffering. But everybody's going to get judged, right? And so God decides when life starts and when life ends. So I don't see this as, of course, it's a big deal because people disappear. We don't see them anymore. But you know, um,
Mhm.
Perfect. We're gonna have Gio. You could do a rebuttal. Then after that, the Orthodox can if they want to rebuttal, they can. Or if not, we can go to the next question. So Gio, you get the rebuttal, and the Orthodox get to have one more rebuttal. Then after that, we're gonna go to the next question.
Okay. So with I'm sorry, my voice again. But with my first statement about hold on, let me think again. I'm sorry. Um so with the war, specifically Sodom and Gomorrah, the things that they did, actually I want to attack on this point. So the first statement somebody said was that with morality, I believe that's what she was talking about, that God good is not the same as human good. And I disagree with that because if we're applying God's standards or how we should be to us, then that matters on what we think is good or not. Because for a human standpoint or a society standpoint, that matters. It's going to affect all of us or the people around you. And I believe in an early point of developing a belief of a religion or really anything, the first thing you think of is this right or not? Like you said yourself, you bounced around from I don't know if you said atheist or agnostic. So you bounced around between beliefs,
it's
which
not.
is
Yeah, that's
uh,
not that's not my position. I used the word agnostic. I don't think we may not have the same definition. Yeah.
yeah, I didn't say what it meant. I was just saying atheist or agnostic. I don't know if you have a different definition. I know a lot of people have a different, so that's why I didn't specify on what that meant. on what that meant.
Yeah.
But my main point is that you bounced around between different beliefs. So, but like, uh, you can't really say that. Oh, it doesn't matter what we think because it's not for us to comprehend. But yet we're using comprehension and knowledge, not even just from us alone, not on our understanding, but also historically on words that's been passed down from orally to scripturally, literature, literature, and other forms of um, writing and philosophy. So for you to say, oh, you know, it's not based on our understanding or comprehension is dishonest, in my opinion. Um, and as far as the Sodom and Gomorrah, so the sins that they committed was pride and arrogance. In Ezekiel 16:49, excessive wealth, failure to help the poor and the needy, of course, not believing in God, sexual immorality. Um, yeah, that's all.
Yeah, I just wanna quickly answer to that because you kind of misrepresenting my position, especially if you look back in the record. My record, I never said that
Hmm.
it's not up like for his judgment because we cannot comprehend it. I said that it is like the comprehension we have, okay, of the
Hmm.
goodness of God is just derived from what He has revealed to us, okay, from His energies. So it's not in the full comprehension. And I also said that a big part of what we judge as good, bad, or evil also relies on purely human experiences which have nothing to do with God. I never said that we cannot comprehend the goodness of God. I said we can partially comprehend it, and
Yeah.
also it's based on other factors.
Yeah. And the verse associated would be Isaiah 55:9, I think.
So yeah,
Do
What
we?
does Isaiah verse 55 says?
Isaiah chapter 55, verse 9, I think. I know it's 55, I don't know if it's 9. It says that my thoughts are not your thoughts, and my ways are not your ways. Because that's God saying, just as the heavens are higher than the earth, my ways are higher than your ways, and my thoughts are not your thoughts. So it's just God saying, don't presume to fully understand me because I'm infinite and you're not, right? So that's similar also to what God says to Job at the end of the book.
So how can you follow something that you don't understand?
Yep. So that would be
oh,
Basil. That would be what Saint Basil addresses
do you
in
believe
his.
in what you know?
Yeah, exactly. That would be what Saint Basil addresses. It's in the 4th century. Um,
Mhm.
when he addresses, for example, in his letter 234. But I mean, he wrote lots of letters. Because basically you got a heretic. I'm gonna make it short, right? You got a heretic named Eunomius, and the guy just says that God is absolutely simple, and that basically you have to know, right? You can know you have to know what and who God is if you want to worship Him, right? And Basil says, because he is a good Christian, he says, yeah, but what we understand of God, we understand of what God does, or like His attributes, His operations, right? What he revealed. But like what God is, as God, we cannot. It gets completely over our heads because we're humans. So we know that God is supreme. We know that God is. We use human words, right? Human concepts to talk about God,
Mhm.
but we can't approach near what God is because that would be like approaching near infinity, and we can't. So, yeah,
Also, the statement that you made, how can you follow something that you don't understand? Most things, okay, in like the normal human world, like in reality, like observed reality, I'm pretty stupid, so I cannot understand them to the max extent. For example, quantum like physics or mathematics at the highest, level, because I don't comprehend it fully, and because I don't have a full grounding epistemically in my mind, doesn't mean I cannot follow them. Just if I understand what's been known and revealed to me, that's enough for it to be followed. So the statement doesn't apply, and especially within God, like crazy statement to make about God.
We're gonna have
Yep.
one more rebuttal by Geo Agnostic, and then we have to move to the next question. So one more rebuttal, then we're gonna move to the next question. And for the next question, the Orthodox Christians are going to be able to start first. Then after that, we're going to have Q&A by the audience. So one more rebuttal by Geo. Go ahead, you got it.
So that's funny that you brought up quantum quantum physics, because quantum physics is just basically just studying atoms and electrons and how they behave in nature. So it's
Do you
not
understand it fully?
It proves God, by the way.
depending on the
It
person, but it's a study. It's a study. So
yeah,
you're
but
learning.
quantum
But we
physics
don't
actually, yeah.
but but you don't. So first of all, it depends on what you're studying within the quantum physics of the atoms or whatever cells that you're visualizing. So that doesn't really make sense, in my opinion. It's a study. It's like, because so we don't call science truth. Science is a process.
But you would the
But
whole
with your
thing.
religion, no. Let me finish. With your religion, you're subjecting that to truth. That's different. That's completely different. The reason why I said, how can you follow something without understanding, is that you following something that you already presume that is true. That's what I mean by that. With science,
Can
we
I
don't think that. We don't think that
can
at all.
can I
Because y'all use faith and attribute that to truth, or that's enough to be in the truth. Science does not work like that at all. And I'm
Let's
pretty sure,
But so
yeah.
science, it doesn't tell you that this is stupid. This is a stupid point. Not saying that you are stupid. I'm saying that it's a stupid argument because
Mm.
I mean I'm not gonna get too deep into this. Very quickly, quantum physics, like starting from the 1930s, physics weren't able to disprove God. Actually, quantum physics is way closer to disproving atheism than it is disproving theism. So yeah. And also this is just you're holding us to a standard that you can't follow yourself, because and also you're literally there's lots of things. You're also saying that you don't call science truth, but you would say that science is real. It deals with reality, right? So you would say that science deals in real things, but that those real things are not true, which makes no sense. And also, science doesn't tell you why you should follow it, but you're following it apparently because you're rejecting religion, you're rejecting the flood, you're rejecting those things. So of course you're following science, but science doesn't deal in the why you ought to follow it. It just deals in the is, what is, right? So that's descriptive. That's not prescriptive, right? So that's a problem for you. It doesn't tell you why you should follow it.
okay.
Also,
Let's get one more
Okay.
rebuttal. We have to move on to the next proposition. So one more quick rebuttal by Geo Agnostic, because we have to move on to the next proposition. Geo, one more rebuttal, and then we have to move on.
It's it's crazy that you false represent what even science mean. Science can simply mean you lighten a lighter. Like the process of that is science. It's just uh it's just so simple that it's literally just that, the process of that. So science doesn't disprove God or prove God. That's not the point of science. I'm not saying this with an attitude. I'm just emphasizing it. But that's not. And also, there's scientists that are religious. So I don't know where you was going with that, but it. I feel like this argument, it didn't really go anywhere. I feel like it doesn't attack your point, and it doesn't really attack mine. It's kind of like in the middle, because, like I said, you can be religious and be a scientist. You can be a scientist and be atheist or agnostic. So